Hi soulmates, and you're welcome to the channel today. Today I'll be taking you through the process of how I made this stylish and trendy milkmaid corset dress with a gathered basque waistline. So if this is something you're interested in, then keep on watching, and please do not forget to subscribe if you're yet to subscribe to the channel. Okay, so guys, let's get on to the main purpose of the video. So guys, these are the fabric that I'll be using to make this dress. I have a crepe fabric of about 4 yards and Chantilly lace of 1 yard and a matching zipper. So these are all you need. I'll be listing all of this in the description box below. So guys, first of all, I'll be drafting my basic bodice for the making of the upper part of the dress. So I took my half length of 18 inches and then the top length of 25 inches. On the starting line, I divided my shoulder into two, and then I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant, and then I went ahead to mark my neck of 3 inches width and 1 inch depth. So I'll go ahead to connect my shoulder line and then my neck curve. So for this pattern, I'll be using this pattern for both the front and the back. So first of all, I'll be drawing out the back pattern and then place it on my fabric to cut it out. Then I'll go ahead to draw out the front style. So for my shoulder line, I'll come down by 8 inch for my arm side length, and then on that 8 inch point, I'll still go ahead to mark half of my shoulder line there. Then I'll go ahead to connect the lines together. So after connecting the lines together, I divided what I have into two, and then I came in on that point by half an inch. So then on the arm side length, I'll be taking quarter of my bust measurements and then mark a point there. Then I'll go ahead to use my arm curve ruler to connect the 3 points as shown. So after doing this, I'll just be making my lines visible so you can see them clearly. So next, I'll be taking my body measurements. I've gone ahead to mark quarter of my bust measurements. So I'll be adding 1.5 inch for sewing allowance. And then on my half length line, I'll take quarter of my round waist measurements and then also add 1.5 inch for sewing allowance. So for this pattern, I'm not going to be adding any dart allowance because I will not be fixing that. But if you want to fix that for yours, then you just need to add your dart allowance. So I'll go ahead to measure how long I want my basque waistline to be. So I'm making mine 24 inches. So then from my actual waist measurement, I'll be connecting that to the 24 inches to get my basque waistline. So you're not going to be connecting from your sewing allowance, you're connecting from your actual waistline, okay? So my basque waistline length is 6 inches. So after doing this, I'll go ahead to cut out my back pattern and then place it on my fabric to cut and then add my zipper allowance, okay? So I folded my fabric into two, and then I'll go ahead to mark 2 inches for my zipper allowance. I'll start marking the 2 inches from the top to where my pattern stops, okay? And then I'll go ahead to pin my pattern from that 2 inches line that I've marked, all right? So after securing my pattern to my fabric with my pin, I went ahead to mark 16 inches, which is my actual waistline. But because of the style of this down, I decided to make it 18 inches. So on that 16 inches point, I came out by 1 inch, and then I'll just go ahead to mark it to the side. So that 1 inch is going to eliminate zipper bulge on my back when I finish sewing. So I'll just go ahead to use my ruler to slant the line to my actual zipper allowance. So that 1 inch now that I've removed from my zipper allowance, I'll be replacing it to the side parts. So guys, the camera did not catch the part when I was cutting it, but as you can see, I cut my pattern with half an inch sewing allowance all around it. And then, like I said, the 1 inch that I removed from the zipper allowance side, I replaced it to the side. And I just decided to draw it straight up to the arm side area. So after sewing, and when I want to shape my dress, I will shape it to my actual body measurement, all right? So 1/2 inch all around the seams and the arm side area, and then 1 inch extending for the zipper allowance. I hope you get that. So I cut two main fabric, and then I'll also be cutting another two for my lining. So you can use your main fabric for your lining, or you can use another fabric for your lining. All right. So I'll go ahead to improvise with this back pattern to cut out my front. So first of all, I'll be taking my underbust measurement. So my underbust is actually 14 inches, but I went up by 1/2 inch because of the style of the dress. So this is a milkmaid corset style, and because it's a milkmaid corset style, you're not going to be adding any bra cup, so you need it to lift up a bit. So that's the reason why I went up by 1/2 inch. So whatever your underbust length is, just go up by 1/2 inch. So next thing, I'll be taking my bust points of 10 inches, and then I'll go ahead to roll a line there. And then for my chest line, I'll be making use of 6.5 inches because I don't want it to show my chest a lot. So I'm making use of 6.5 inch. You can go ahead to measure yourself and do whatever best suits you. So I went up by 6.5 inches, or rather I went up by 3.5 inches from my nipple point, okay? So that's going to be my chest line. So I'll go ahead to rule a straight line also. So after getting my chest line, I'll be coming in by 1 inch on my chest line, as you can see, and then I'll go ahead to connect that to my shoulder points. So this is going to be my Queen Anne neckline style. And then on the center front of my chest line, I will also go ahead to mark 1/2 inch. And then after doing that, I'll go ahead to connect that to my underbust. But before doing that, I'll first of all be taking my nipple to nipple measurements. So I'll take half of my nipple to nipple measurement, and then I'll be using my arm curve ruler to connect from that 1/2 inch point to the point I marked on my underbust. Can you see that? So after doing that, I'll also be using my curved ruler to connect from that same point on my underbust to my Queen Anne's neckline. So you can use your free hand or use your pattern master to get your curve. So guys, it's as simple as this. So I'll just go ahead to label my shoulder part, my yoke, and I'll be using the nets for that shoulder part. And then I just went ahead to add arrows. So these arrows are just going to signify the points that will be going together. So next, I'll go ahead to cut out that cup part from it, and then I'll be slashing and spreading it on my main fabric to get that milkmaid corset style, okay? So guys, I went ahead to cut this cup pattern into 4 equal panels, and then I'll be slashing and spreading it to get a better fullness on the cup part. So I went ahead to spread it with 1 inch spacing on each of the pattern, okay? And then on that new pattern, I'll be drawing out the shape of the cup, and I'll go ahead to cut it out. So guys, I placed the down part on my main fabric, and it is on fold. So that middle part, you're going to make sure that it is on fold, and then I'll be adding 1/2 inch sewing allowance on all the seams. As you can see, I'm adding 1/2 inch sewing allowance. I've already gone ahead to add my 1.5 inch sewing allowance to the side part, so there's no need to add more allowance again. So I'll go ahead to cut out all the lines that I've marked, and I'll also be cutting on another fabric that is going to serve as my lining. So guys, after cutting my front pattern, I placed the cup area on my main fabric and I folded it into 2. So then from the top line, I went ahead to mark 2 inches, and then I'll be placing my cup from that 2 inches point. So that 2 inches is what I'll be folding to add my rope to it to get that ruching on the cup area. So I'll go ahead to pin the pattern on the fabric, and then I'll add 1/2 inch sewing allowance on the other side all around it. So guys, after cutting the cup, I'll also be placing my Queen Anne yoke on the main fabric. So this is going to serve as the lining. So like I said before, the cup part is going to have the net, and the main fabric is going to be the lining, okay? So I went ahead to add half inch sewing allowance all around my Queen Anne yoke. So after cutting on the main fabric, I went ahead to place it on my net to cut the same exact shape on my net fabric. So guys, I'll start by showing you how to sew the cup part before we move on to the other side of the dress, okay? So first of all, I'll take out the lining of my cup part, which is the main fabric, and then I'll place the net on top of it. So then I will use my pin to secure the net to the main fabric, and I'll just take it to my sewing machine to stitch all around it. So after stitching it, I'll go ahead to fold it into two, give it a lot of space so that you just be folding that 2 inches, okay, so that it will be wide enough for your rope to pass. So after folding it, I'll just keep it aside for now and work on the main bodies, then we'll come back to it, okay? So this is the main fabric and the lining together. You can see that I added stay to the main fabric to give it more thickness. So I went ahead to place the main fabric and the lining front side facing front side, and then I'll be turning it with the lining, okay? So the part that I'm pinning is the part that I'll be sewing on. So that middle point, I'll be sewing the top part with half an inch, and then I'll also be sewing the side part with half an inch. And then for the back pattern, I also iron stay to my main fabric and cut out another fabric for my lining. So I'll also be doing the same thing for my back pattern. I'll place my main fabric and lining front side facing front side, and then I'll be turning the neck side, the zipper allowance, and the side part with half an inch. So after sewing and ironing, you can see the two of them. So what I'll be doing now is I'll be placing the both fronts together, the front of the fabric together, and then I'll be sewing the zipper allowance of 1.5 inch. Remember, I cut the pattern of zipper allowance to be 2 inches, right? But after sewing with half an inch, it's now going to be 1.5 inch. So I'll be sewing 1.5 inch on my zipper allowance. So this is the front part after turning the seams. So I went ahead to use my pins to hold and secure the parts that are open. So for my cup parts, after folding it, I went ahead to notch the midpoint of the cup, and I also went ahead to notch the midpoint on the main fabric. So I'll go ahead to measure the distance between the cup space on the main fabric. So I have 5.5 inches. So I will go ahead to cut my rope. So I will not be using elastic for this pattern. So for the rope, I went ahead to cut my length to be 21 inches long and then 2 inches wide. So I'll be folding it together. Can you see that? On one side, I will fold it inward so that it can be neat, and then fold it into two to get my rope, okay? So the side that is going to be rough will be the part that will go on the inside. So guys, after folding the rope, I'll just show you how to fix it. So guys, the part of the cup that I'll be joining to the middle part is half an inch. So I'll just go ahead to cut open a small hole after the half an inch point, and that's where I'll be inserting my rope to, okay? So I'll fix the safety pin on the rope, which is the rough part, and then I'll be inserting the rope inside that hole. So you also go ahead to do the same thing on the other side of your cup. So after the rope gets to the end, I'll use my pin to secure it so it does not move. So that 5.5 inch I measured on the cup part on the space is what's going to be on my rope. So the reason why I prefer the rope to the elastic is because if after wearing it, it's not tight, then you can go ahead to draw it to make it tighter, okay? So you can still go ahead to make your rope longer. So I'll place the midpoint that I've notched on both the main fabric and the cup together, and I'll use my pin to hold it. Then the two sides, I'll also be placing them together. The side that has the rope, I'll be pinning it to the midpoint, and then the other side So for this other side, I'll be coming down by half an inch first of all before pinning the copper to it. So I'm coming down by half an inch because I'll be joining my Queen Anne yoke to it. And then I'll turn over to the back and then pleat the remaining excess on the cup to the main fabric. I'll be pleating it on the down part, okay? So guys, you saw how I did this first cup pattern. So I'll go ahead to do the same thing on the other side of the cup, and then I'll come back to show you what next. So guys, this is what I have after I was done fixing the cup to the both side. So the next I'll be working on is the yoke part. So like I said, the main fabric is serving as the lining for this yoke part. So what I'll be doing is I'll be turning the net and the main fabric together, just like the way you turn your main fabric and lining together, okay? So I'm placing the both side, front side facing front side, which is the net and the main fabric. So after doing this, I'll go ahead to sew the part that you see me pointing on the video with half an inch, okay? Guys, after sewing and ironing, this is what I have. So I'll be showing you how to fix it on that space that is left on the main bodice, okay? So I'll be fixing it just like the way you join your shoulder to give it a neat finishing. So I place the Queen Anne neckline to it, and then I'll just be using the lining to turn over it, and I'll pin that part and sew with half of an inch. I hope you get what I explained just now. So this is how it's going to be looking on the front and on the back. You can see how neat it looks. So I'll be explaining again using the other side. So I place my Queen Anne neckline to it, and then I'll be using the lining to turn over it to wrap the rough edge of the main fabric, and then I'll be stitching it with half of an inch. Then after sewing it, I will just trim off the excess allowance. So guys, I placed my front and my back main fabric together, so I'll be joining the shoulder part. So you see that same technique I used when I was joining the Queen Anne neckline is the same technique I'll be using to join the shoulder. So I'll just take it over to my sewing machine and show you how I did it. Place my back and my front shoulder together, and then I use the lining of the back shoulder to turn over to the front and then pin it together. So this is going to have my main shoulder in between the main fabric of the back and the lining, okay? But if you find this pattern hard, then you can just go ahead to do your normal joining your back and your front shoulder together. It's still the same thing. After joining it, then you can weave it to get your neat finishing. This technique just helps to enhance your work to make it neat on the inside. So guys, I went ahead to measure my round arm side and cut out my sleeve. As you can see, the sleeve is a long sleeve, like somehow like a bell sleeve on the end of it. So after cutting it, I just went ahead to cut on my main fabric. So if you want to see a full tutorial, if you don't know how to cut this type of slipper you want to see, just let me know in the comment section and I'll make a short video about it. So guys, after cutting the sleeve, I'll be fixing it to the arm side of the main dress. So I went ahead to open it up, and then I will be notching the midpoint of the sleeve, and then I'll start fixing from the midpoint of the shoulder, okay? So I'll just pin it all around the arm side area, and I'll go ahead to sew it with half of an inch. This is how it looks after joining the both sleeves. So the next thing I'll be doing is to determine the length of my gathers. So I have 18 inches as my half length, and then the main length of the gathers is going to be 47 inches. Okay, so I have my remaining fabric here, so I'll go ahead to take out the 18 inches of my half length and then make the length of the gathers to be 47 inches. So I throw away 18 inches, then marked 47 inches plus my sewing allowance. So on one side I'll be drawing gathers. So one of the straight fabric is going to be one piece, then the other parts will be into two. So I'll be cutting one part into two, which is going to be for the back. So I'll be showing you how to draw the gather. So first of all, you need to make sure that your thread is long, your first thread is long, and then you'll be sewing with a free stitch. So the first stitch that you're going to be making, you will not be tying it, okay? You're just going to start sewing till you get to the end of the fabric. So then after you're sewing, you make sure that your gathers you can draw your gather. So we're making use of one of the rope to draw it. So that's one rope is what you'll be using to draw it. You get your desired gathered waistline. And then after you finish sewing to the end, you're also going to make sure that your last rope is also long, okay? So I will go ahead to pick one of the rope, like I said before, and then I'll be drawing my gathers gently with that one rope. So after drawing it to my desired waistline, I'll go ahead to measure what I have after I finish gathering it to get the desired waistline I want. So after I finish gathering it, I'll be using the same machine to top stitch the gathered stitch so that it doesn't move, okay? So I'll be top stitching the gathered stitch. I'll just go ahead to make the fabric to be straight and keep top stitching it till I get to the end. So this is how to achieve your gathers. So guys, you can see the gathers, see how it looks. So this is how I'll be fixing it to my front, and then I also went ahead to do the back. So when I'm fixing the back gathers, I'll be losing the zipper allowance, okay? But before fixing the gathers, I'll first of all be shaping the upper parts of this dress. So I'll be shaping using my body measurements. So you can go ahead to use your body measurements when you want to shape your dress. So from the midpoint of my zipper allowance, I'll be taking my bust measurements, which is quarter of my bust measurements. And then on the waistline, from that same zipper allowance, I'll be taking quarter of my waist measurements. So I'll go ahead to mark this on both sides of the back. And then I'll turn it over to the front and fold it into two. And then from that midpoint, I will be taking quarter of my bust measurement as well and quarter of my waist measurement on both sides of the front. So after getting up all of these lines, I'll go ahead to place my back and my front together, and the line that I've drawn, I'll be using my pin to secure it. Then I'll be sewing directly on the line. So this is how I shape my dress to get accurate fitting, okay? And for the sleeve, you're also going to mark your round sleeve and divide it into two, and just take that measurements for the sleeve, and you're also going to shape the sleeve just the same way. So after I was done, I went ahead to lose my zipper allowance, and then I fixed the gathers to the back parts. So this part is quite simple, so that's why I didn't film that part. But the front that has a V shape that I'll be joining together, I'll be showing you how to fix the gathers to still maintain your V shape, okay? So first of all, I'll be notching that V shape. So you can see that I folded the main fabric into two and iron it to get the middle part. So I'll be notching that middle point of my V shape. And then I'll bring my gathers and also be notching the midpoint of the gathers. And then I'll take it to my sewing machine to show you how to stitch it. So guys, you can see the notch point on the gathers and also on the main fabric. So I'll go ahead to use my pin to pin the both middle point together, and then I'll start stitching on one side of the notched points on one side to the end. So after stitching one side, I'll go ahead to stitch the other side to get that V shape. Okay, so guys, just watch closely. So after sewing one side, you can see how it looks on one side. So I'll go ahead to turn the other side of the notch points to the other side of the gathers and then go ahead to still stitch. So you need to make sure that you pin the both of them together first, and then you're going to be stitching on the gathers area so that your fabric will not be folded. You first of all be stitching on your gathers area. Then after stitching on that area till you get to the end, you can turn it to your main fabric front and then stitch again to get your V shape. So guys, here's what I explained. So after sewing on the gathers part, I just turn it to this other side to sew it again to make it straight. So after doing this, you can go ahead to fix your zipper for your back and finish up your gown. So guys, this is how the gown looks so far. After fixing my zipper, I will go ahead to weave the inside to make it neat, and then also go ahead to fold the bottom part of the gown. So after doing that, I'll be fixing wrapped buttons to the front side, to the middle of the gown. So just like the way the style is. So I went ahead to take the length of where the wrap buttons are going to be. So I measured 2 inches each for the spacing. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the making of this dress. If you do find it helpful, please do want to subscribe to the channel and also drop a comment. And thank you guys for watching. See you in our next tutorial. Bye bye.